Welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. Hey folks, I've been teaching fiddlers how to read sheet music, and today I'm going to show you all how to read rhythm. We're going to start very simply by just reading one note, the open D string. And we're just going to do two kinds of rhythms and then do a bunch of patterns to help you practice. And before we get started, I'll just give you a bit of the philosophy of the course, is that it's almost better. I think it's better if you learn to play first before learning to read. And with a lot of teaching methods, you kind of learn both at the same time, which can be very frustrating for a lot of people. And what I like to do is get people playing, get people enjoying music, sounding good, getting like a foothold with their technique, and then saying, okay, now we're going to learn to read. And everything you've already learned, all those tunes you've learned, we can harness to help you learn reading. That's sort of the basic principle of the course. And so cool. So now you've heard that. Let's just dive into learning how to read rhythm on the staff. We're going to be looking at a screencast of the lesson page from the FiddleHed site. I think that this is a fairly good way to teach, because it's really, this course is really about learning to read sheet music. And so it would be better if I just wasn't just talking about it, right? I've already talked about it too much. Okay, so we're gonna first learn a type of note called a quarter note. And I kind of talk about it a little bit, but I think that the best way to approach reading is to kind of closely integrate playing with it. So what I want you to do to start is just play 4 notes, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are called quarter notes. Why are they called quarter notes? Because there's 4 of them in a bar. What's a bar? Let's look back at the sheet music. That's that box. So if we see the box with the little dots at the end, that box is called a bar, or sometimes called a measure. And because there are 4 quarter notes to a bar, each one is 1/4 of the bar. So some of you probably don't like fractions, but for those of you who do, I'd like to kind of present different angles on how to understand this. So this is a very simple example, but we're going to learn the core principles of how to approach sheet music from it. So you already played that, okay? So you've got it in your fingers, and you kind of have it in your body a little bit. And if you don't, just play it some more, and maybe you want to count yourself in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the next step we're going to take, let me pause. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of learning a little bit more of how this looks, I want to go over the process of intuitive note reading. It's something that a sort of newish title anyway, for a learning process and basically what it is you play something, then you read it without playing with the help of a play-along track or an audio track, and then you try to do both at the same time. Then we return to just playing. So we're going to do that now. You've already played it. Now we're just going to, on the page, we're just going to look at this and listen to it. And your brain is going to naturally start to figure out the pattern. 4. And starting over. So those little dots are a repeat symbol. In most pieces, they mean to repeat exactly once. But when I present that in the course, when you just see a single bar, it means to just loop on it. And so just a note about, no pun intended, about quarter notes and 1, 2, 3, 4. You hear a band leader count off the band. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Basically, they are counting quarter notes, just so you know. Okay, that's all I'm going to give you for now. I don't want to talk too much. I want to get into it. I feel like I talk too much sometimes. So anyhow, so that's a quarter note. That's what they look like. We're now going to do eighth notes. Forgive me if I'm going too slowly. If I'm going too slowly, you may just want to cut to the page and practice the exercises, and my feelings will not be hurt. But I'm kind of going slowly because I know there's people out there who've struggled with this and want to really get it. And wait, let's ask, why learn sheet music? You don't really have to learn it, but I think it's worth learning because it gives you the opportunity to more easily learn music, which is what you want to do, I think. And to learn new styles, to play with other people who are using the same particular version. So I kind of hand drew an eighth note, then there's two eighth notes, and these are things that sometimes need a little explanation, but so there's a single eighth note, has a flag, two eighth notes are connected by a bar. Sometimes that's confusing for people, but they're the same thing, okay? Four eighth notes are also connected by a bar, and then now we go down and we see a nicely notated series of 8 eighth notes. So eighth notes, 1/8 of a bar, 8 of them in a bar. So let's just start by playing them. And we can count them a little differently. We can count them 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if you have questions, leave a comment. I promise I'll be better at responding than I had been because I'm actively trying to teach this and listen to what your questions are and your struggles are. So, okay, so we've done the intuitive note reading process. We first played it. Actually, now we're gonna just listen to it, and then we'll do both at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just listen. Another time. Now let's try to play and read. And then go back to just playing without reading. Now just reading. Now reading and playing. Those are the only 2 notes we're going to learn in this lesson, and we're going to do some progressively more challenging exercises to help you get this. Before we get into those, I just want to give you another super useful tip. I should have given you this earlier for the quarter notes, but as a way to further deepen this and also to figure out any tricky rhythm, we can clap the rhythms. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And quarter notes would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and for 8. So let's go between quarter notes and eighth notes. Quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighths. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So maybe that was easy, maybe that was hard. If you think that was too easy though, I suggest you stay with it, because when we get to more advanced tunes, this skill will become in really handy. Like let's say we're doing, it's got a lot of eighth notes. How about Whiskey Before Breakfast? So let's say you didn't know that tune, you would clap it like this. So that's more of a musicianship kind of thing to do, to practice clapping things, but it will help your mind a lot to kind of make a picture of what the music is based on the sheet music. So moving on. So now we're just going to look at a few mixed patterns that I commonly teach and how they are written, and then we're going to get into some 4-bar exercises. So a common pattern I teach on FiddleHed common rhythm is, I call it tucka, 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 tucka. Also known as pepperoni pizza, pepperoni pizza, pepperoni pizza. All right. And so you've played it, now you would listen to it. Step 2 of intuitive note reading.
1, 2, 3.
Listen and look at the sheet music, I mean. Third step, do both at the same time. Listen and read. Read and play. Now just play. Just read. And then do both at the same time. This track speeds up, maybe not an ideal thing for this lesson. See if I can fix that. And so now I'm gonna move a little bit more quickly through this next one. Hoe Down, another super common fiddle pattern. Long, short, short, long, short, short. And look at how it's written. We have a quarter, long, short, short, long, short, short. Let's go back up to tucka and do the same thing. We have short, 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 long, long. If we were to clap that, we have short, 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 long, long. Now clap it and read it, okay? Short, 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 long. I now clap and read Hoe Down. Okay? So looking at Hoe Down, which ones are the eighth notes? Think about it for a sec. Is this an eighth note or is this an eighth note? Okay, I'll tell you. This is a quarter note. These two are eighth notes, quarter, eighths. Okay, cool. So now we just have a series of exercises. I'm gonna maybe do a few of them in this video lesson and then leave the rest to you. They're on the page. I also have a full sheet music so that you can practice this without the exercise. You can print it. You don't even need to have the computer on. You can, which is nice. I like to practice a fair amount without the computer. So let's just do this first exercise. You'll notice the way I've done these, made these, is that there are 4 bar exercises. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and when it repeats, I forgot to put a repeat sign here, but I think you'll get the idea. When it starts over at the first bar, you'll hear a bell sound, and I did that so that you'll know where you are. You can just, without having to start the whole thing over, you can quickly find your place. Let's give it a try.
1, 2, 3.
Just read now. Try to tell which notes are which. Now I'm gonna play and read. Starting over. Maybe I'll just read. And so if you get stuck at any point during the process, try to figure out which bar you have trouble with. So maybe I'll start it over.
4.
So you say that makes sense. This next bar makes sense. But now I don't get this. So you might want to puzzle through that and be like, is that long, short, short? No, it's long, long, short, 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 short. Right, I think that's it. And then try it again. Point is, you may have to pause the exercise to think it through. That's okay. Whatever you gotta do to get this, all right? And then eventually you wanna get to a state where you can just flow through this. You can read them easily and you don't even need the play along track. That's kind of the next level. Can you so you'll do these exercises multiple times and then, or whatever method you're doing, that I'll pause just to say that this intuitive note reading idea that I talk about, it's not like that new of a thing. It's done in language learning. But basically, if you have some other fiddle method, or you're learning the clarinet, and you have music, you have sheet music, and you have audio that exactly matches what you're doing, then you can use this method. It's just a very simple thing. You first play it, then you read and just read it, and you start with small bits, and then you do both at the same time. So that's one exercise. I'm just going to do one more to work through the process again, and please ask questions if you have them. So exercise 3, this is going to be a good time.
1, 2, 3.
Just going to read it first. So that's making sense to me now. 4 quarter notes. 1, 2. Okay, I think I know what's going on. So sometimes, like, actually using a little bit of thinking and analytical thinking can help. Like, oh, that first bar is those 4 quarter notes again. That was the first thing we did today. And then look ahead. Oh, look, there it happens again in the 3rd bar. So you've just made it a lot easier for yourself. I have a whole other lesson on this called finding patterns in sheet music, because once you figure out what the first bar is, then you scan forward and see every place it happens. You're like, cool, I got that, I got that, I got that. So let's look at the 2nd bar. I'm not quite sure. Have we done it already? Yes, look, that's tucka on D. Tucka, tucka, tucka. So I'm going to go back down, make it a little bigger. And so that whole thing is tucka, tucka, tucka. That 2nd bar. All right, scanning ahead. Whoa, the 4th bar is the same as the 2nd. So the 1st and 3rd bars are the same, 2nd and 4th are the same. I got this. I'm now ready to try it.
1, 2,
3, 4. Starting over. You get the idea, I think. All right, so there's a few more exercises, and then I'm gonna follow this with reading rhythm 2. I'll follow up, and if they're gonna kind of separate these ideas, separate reading rhythms from reading pitches, and then bring them together on tunes. And I'll just close by saying that you can really start to practice reading in the intuitive note reading thing with anything you know. So, like, let's just go look at a super easy tune on FiddleHed, like how about Mary Had a Little Lamb. Basically, you can do the same process with everything you've learned, as long as you have audio and sheet music that matches what you've learned. So here we go. Here's the 1st quarter of Mary Had a Little Lamb. Let's listen to it and play it. And
2, 3, 4.
okay, so that has a type of note that we're going to do in the next lesson called the half note, but I'm not going to explain it now. But basically, even if you didn't know what a half note was, which maybe you don't, you can just start listening to this and figuring out, well, it's a little longer on that last note. The point is that without even being explained the rules, if you hear it and see it, your brain will figure it out. Hope that makes sense. But at the same time, I'm going to be slowly dripping out rules to you. That's kind of a gross term. But I'm going to slowly be saying, here you go. Here's what a half note is. Here's what a dotted quarter note is, a dotted eighth. And then in the hopes that just gradually it makes sense. And it took me, just so you know, a very long time to get like a lot of the more abstract things with music and theory. And I actually don't know that much theory. I know enough to do what I want to do. If you have any other questions, please leave it in a comment, because this course, the Note Reading for Fiddlers course, is currently unfinished on purpose, because I wanted to make a batch of, I think I made an initial batch of like 7 or 8 lessons. And I just want to see what questions people have, what you guys are still wondering about, and then do more. But I want you to dive in now so we can learn together. So you are learning how to read sheet music, and I'm learning how to teach you to read sheet music. So cool. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.